welcome to the Game Winner Podcast. I'm your host, Boris Hope. I'm here with Fasi Tunga Fasi, and Zach couldn't make it today because the Chargers got their butts whooped, and he just didn't want to come and hear the smoke. He didn't want to hear the smoke. Lost 34-6. Justin Herbert didn't walk off the bus. And you know what? If the Bucs got beat like that, I wouldn't want to show up either. So I get it, Zach. It's all good. You know, Niners, they didn't play this week, so I can't talk smack. Good week for the Niners. But
it was a
what'd
good
you
week
think
for
of,
us.
That's right. What'd you think of week 6 NFL, Fossey?
Man, I really enjoyed this week. This is where you really start to see what teams kind of, show that they're the real deal, and the teams that are kind of like the pretenders. Just real quick, you got the Broncos who started 3-0. Now they're not looking like they can do anything special. The Carolina Panthers, they started off hot, now they're kind of cool off. So you're starting to see the teams that are the real deal kind of take that next step, and then the rest of the fakers are kind of pulling back now. So excited to talk about it.
I agree. That's definitely, you kind of get that separation. The Panthers and Broncos, both of them, you kind of saw them as those teams that were not really as good as they seemed. They were playing weak competition. So it's starting to show, and they both had huge losses today. We can start with that Vikings-Panthers game. That's actually a good game. Vikings win it overtime, 34-28. Dalvin Cook plays well. Kirk Cousins, this guy he's just one of those dudes that everybody hates him. Rightfully so. He kind of has an attitude that people don't like, but the dude puts up numbers. He's got great weapons, 373, 3 touchdowns. You get Dalvin Cook back, and, Alexander Madison's a good player, but he's not Dalvin Cook. Cook goes 29 carries, 140, and a touchdown. He has a few receiving yards as well. Overall, great game for the Minnesota. This is a team that could have been like 3-0, but they kept losing these close games. Now they're starting to put it together. They're beating teams that they should beat. And I think this is a team that's going to start rolling for the rest of the season. It could be a sneaky, tough out in the wild card. The team that maybe won't beat the Packers, but you see them in the wild card round, and they're a team that you don't want to play. So that's kind of how I went with this.
Yeah, I mean, I like their offense. I mean, on paper, they're way better than what they have been showing, and I think they're starting to get it together as the Minnesota Vikings. Their defense, they need to work on that. They're letting teams stick around way longer than they should. But yeah, that offense is really the strong point of that team. You mentioned it. Dalvin Cook was killing it. Kirk Cousins, he's hot and cold. Everybody hates him. Everybody loves him. But he gets the job done when he needs to. Adam Thielen came out and had a game. So, you kind of expect this team to be right where it's at right now. And the Carolina Panthers, man. Uh, First of all, I feel sorry for the guy, Christian McCaffrey. He just went back on IR. He's going to be gone for another 3 weeks. And then Sam Darnold, man, he's just trying to keep it together. That offense is scattered. All the wide receivers were dropping balls left and right. It was hard for him to get in a groove. And then, they're in a close game with a team like the Minnesota Vikings, and they couldn't close the deal. You kind of feel like this is what their season is going to look like for the rest of the year. Close games, but can't finish it. Kind of like the
Yeah.
Chargers last year.
Yeah, I still think the Chargers are a much better team than that, but I think the Panthers are a year or two away. And
Yeah.
it's one of those things where that defense is showing promise. People thought they were probably better than they are, but now people are thinking they're worse than they are. They're probably somewhere in between. Maybe a year or two from now, add a couple draft picks, they'll really get there. But
Yeah.
if you're a Panthers fan, I mean, I've done this in the past, and it's tough to do, but you gotta kind of hope that they show like promise, but maybe don't win too many games, because I don't think Darnold's the answer, and you need to get that quarterback. That should
Yeah.
be like number one, have to do. And if you lose a couple of these games and it gets you a higher draft pick, then more power to you, as long as you're seeing progress from the rest of the team, especially when you get McCaffrey back. Overall, good win for the Vikings. This should be a fun team to watch for sure.
For sure.
All right, we'll go back to the other team I was talking a little smack about, the Chargers against the Ravens. I personally thought the Chargers were going to win this game. I thought Herbert was going to have a big game. I thought Eckler was going to have a big game. I mean, you were posting about Mike Williams before the game, how great he was going to be. Uh,
I was.
and he did not live up to it. None of them lived up to it. And I was shocked because this Chargers team, I thought this was a new Chargers team, a team that didn't have games like this, but they showed that maybe they're not quite as good as we thought they were, or this could have just been a bad week.
Yeah, so this is kind of one of the games for the Chargers that kind of brought them back down to reality. I mean, you were hopeful for this year. Uh, Herbert was looking like a straight superstar. His wide receivers were playing well. Mike Williams was doing good. I thought he was going to come out and do well again, but he didn't. I think he was injured. Eckler, Keenan Allen, they were all doing well before this game, and even that defense. Last week they're coming off a big win with the Browns, and then they play a real team like the Baltimore Ravens, and it's like, all right, well maybe they're a year or two out. Same with the Panthers. I mean, there's a lot of hope, but this is just one of those games that kind of just kind of brought it back to reality for the Chargers. And I felt like they were going to win it too, but uh, they were just not as good as the Baltimore Ravens were in every aspect of the game. They were outplayed, they were outcoached. They didn't seem like they were ready to do anything when they came on that field, and it showed today. I mean, they lost 34-6, so it's back to the drawing board for the Los Angeles Chargers, and a big win for the AFC North leading Baltimore Ravens. Watch out for them to do something big.
Yeah, I was disappointed in the Chargers, especially because they had their chance to kind of gain some more ground on their lead with the Chiefs, keep building that lead. And then, of course, the
Yeah,
Chiefs came and won this week, and the Chargers lose. So that gap's already getting lessened a little bit, and you expect the Chiefs to kind of keep rolling. You hope the Chargers can pick it up. And those head to head matchups coming up are going to be big time matchups for that division. Yeah, Baltimore.
huge,
I
huge.
don't think I don't think the Browns are a bad team. They've had a couple bad weeks. I still think they're good, but man, Baltimore is now they're starting to catch their stride a little bit. They were having some crazy wins in the beginning of the season, and now they're starting to wake up. So Lamar Jackson, this wasn't even a good Lamar Jackson game really, but they were up by
Yeah,
so much he didn't have to be great. He only had 167 passing yards, a touchdown, and two picks. Ran for 51 yards, so it wasn't like some amazing game. But Marquise Brown had a couple drops. You hope that he could figure that out. We thought he had, but it keeps popping up. So watch out for that. But overall, Ravens are, I think, better than we thought, and the Chargers are maybe a little worse than we thought. But I don't want to bury them after one game. I think they should
yeah.
bounce back and still be a good team. Herbert will learn from this one.
And shout out to Le'Veon Bell getting a touchdown today for them. That's crazy.
It's like a retirement home over there. You get a
Yeah,
touchdown and yeah, then you go home. Latavius
yeah,
Murray got one. Devontae Freeman, guys that you just thought would
yeah.
never show up on the box score ever again or scoring
Who would have
touchdowns
thought
left and
those
right.
three guys would be in the same backfield?
Who would have thought? And they all score a
2013,
touchdown.
they would have been killed. That would have been the best backfield in the league in 2013.
Yeah, so they're turning into like the Buccaneers, except for running backs. Like Buccaneers, all these old guys doing stuff. It's like, man, those running backs were good 10 years ago. Yeah, 2013, 8 years ago. That is funny. All right, let's move on. We got the Rams Giants. I just want to briefly go over this one because the Rams are starting to show their dominance in the league.
Yeah,
38-11 Giants. They started off rocky in this game, but once they started going, they were going. Uh, Daniel Jones, 242, three interceptions, and a fumble. So he was struggling. And Stafford, 251, four touchdowns and a pick. He balled out. And I saw the Rams were at the top of the power rankings maybe like 2 weeks ago from ESPN, NFL Network after they beat the Bucks. And then they struggled. They lost to Arizona, and people dropped them to 7, 8. And it felt like too far of a drop for this team. This team's still a top 4, 3, 2 team. Them, Arizona, I think that those guys are gonna be battling it out. And then you got teams like the Bucks and Bills. So great win for the Rams, and they're just gonna keep coming and getting better and stronger as the season goes on.
yeah, man. These Rams are really starting to make a name for themselves. They're putting themselves right up there with Tampa Bay, uh, Patrick Mahomes, and the Chiefs. I mean, they're starting to get in that realm of elite. As far as this game goes, man, Matthew Stafford showed why they went out and got him. He's like the missing piece to this already great team. Uh, they had weapons all around. Matthew Stafford just plugged himself in and threw for 4 touchdowns today. And that defense, I mean, what more do you need me to say every week? They got Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. I mean, that's it. They held New York Giants. I mean, they're not a great team, but they're in contention for the NFC East, and they held them to 11 points. So hats off to the Rams. They are really making themselves known in this league, and they'll be in the conversation to run deep into the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if the Giants are in contention. It's too much. I mean, 1-5. They're kind of they might be taking a dirt nap
I
after
mean,
this one. But then again, the NFC
yeah,
East isn't great, other than the Cowboys. The Cowboys look
the
legit, and
Cowboys.
we'll talk about them a little bit later. But overall, Rams are real team. Darrell Henderson looked good, 78 yards on 21 carries and a touchdown. And Cooper Kupp might be the best receiver in the league right now. I mean, Devontae
Yeah,
Adams, of course, is that guy,
yeah,
but Cooper Kupp is putting together a case to be at least in that conversation because he just keeps balling out.
yeah.
130 receptions and 2 touchdowns today. Obviously, him and Stafford getting breakfast every morning is really paying off. So keep eating your Wheaties, keep
And
eating your cereal and your yogurt. They're killing it.
and those are hard worked on or yards. I mean, one of those touchdowns that Cooper Cup had, he had to maneuver his body and just make it to where he can catch it like last second in the corner of the end zone or in the front corner of the end zone. It was just crazy to see him do that and to see him do it week in and week out. I mean, yeah, he's definitely making a case for that number one receiver in the league right now.
All right,
They got a
moving.
lot of number ones on that team.
Oh, they got some good
Right.
players. They got some good players on
Yeah.
that squad for sure. Let's move on to the Kansas City Chiefs playing the Washington football team. Chiefs even out, so they're 3-3 now with a 31-13 win over Washington. Big game overall. Patrick Mahomes 397, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. I think the box score shows a good game, and he showed some stuff, but he had some boneheaded plays as well. One throw he should have never thrown up for grabs for no reason, looking like Jameis Winston, less like Patrick Mahomes. But when it counted, he started balling out and he made up for it. Kelsey, of course, number one target, 99 yards. Tyreek got his 76 yards in a TD. And Washington, Heineke disappointed a little bit. Gibson was hurt, didn't do much. But overall, not much fight back from Washington. I thought they would show a little bit more.
Yeah, so the fall from the NFC East title for the Washington football team has been fast and hard for them. I mean, they went from, looking like a real team coming into the season, and now it's not just because they're playing the Chiefs. I mean, the teams that they've played before this and what they've shown has been nothing compared to that team was last year. I mean, you got the defense playing horribly. Nobody can seem to get it together on offense. I mean, you're playing with a backup quarterback, but you expect these guys to kind of help him out. Antonio Gibson, you mentioned it. He was hurt, but he still came out there. Kind of wished more from him. And Terry McLaurin, he was questionable coming into this game, too. He didn't do anything. I know. I have him in like two of my leagues. And man, it was hard for me to see that. But they're as far as they go. I mean, they have to go back to the drawing board, and you almost want to say it's like kind of like a rebuild year now. It's kind of like a throwaway year. Play for what you can, get the draft picks, move forward, and that's their story right now. But the Chiefs, this was a pick me up game for them. They've been struggling. They played this team. They got back on track. Now they're looking forward to next week and for the rest of the year.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think the biggest thing that I've been looking at is like, man, if you're a Washington football team fan, you're rooting for a couple of things. First off, you're rooting for a good team name next year so you can get a cool jersey. I think that's your number one goal. Number two, you want to just see something from the defense that shows up. You want to see them do better. You don't want to see them like struggling like they have been. You want to have a bad quarterback and a good defense so that next year when you go into the season, you feel like, okay, at least we got a good defense and a top 5 pick, and then we can get the quarterback and we're moving in the right direction. Because right now,
Yeah.
the defense looks terrible. So you have like almost nothing to hold your hat on except for a couple offensive weapons, no quarterback, and it just feels like a man. You want to get that defense rolling. Uh, bef- Before we move on to another game, I wanted to talk about the Sean Taylor retirement of the
Yeah.
jersey. You know,
Yeah.
that was awesome that's
Oh
finally
man.
happening, which they've waited 14 years to do. They should have done it a long time ago, but
Yeah.
I guess there's only one other player that's been retired for Washington, so they're stingy. Also, just timing is weird that nobody knew about this retirement until all the John Gruden stuff comes out and all the bad stuff, and then you try to shift the media, but that's for another day. Well deserved retirement, and I don't know if you wanted to get into the Patrick Mahomes' brother dancing
No,
on
I
the
don't. I
on the
don't. We
number.
don't need to. I mean, I'm sure that's. We don't need to shed light on that stupid, disgusting
He
act
did
that Patrick
apologize.
Mahomes.
He did apologize. I don't know, but still, it was terrible. If you don't know, look it up. Patrick Mahomes' brother TikTok dancing on Sean Taylor's number during his retirement, or
Yeah,
not during his retirement, but
I'll just say that it was disrespectful, but very well deserved for Sean Taylor. Uh, you know,
absolutely.
he was one of the he would have been one of the greats, and I don't think anybody was going to wear his number anyways. Even before they retired his number today, nobody ever wore his number for like the last 10 years or something, or that number 21. So well deserved for him. I'm glad they finally did it. Who knows if it was like trying to uh, sway the media's eyes away from other things that were going on, but I'm glad they
Yeah.
finally did it.
Yeah, yeah, finally. I mean, after all these years, if nobody's wearing his
Yeah,
number for 15 years, maybe you should throw his name in the
yeah.
rafters. Come on, Washington. So at least they did it. That's good. Let's move on to Packers Bears. Now this game, it's what you expected. Packers 5-1. Everybody knows Aaron Rodgers has good games against the Packers. He didn't throw up any monster numbers, but 195, 2 touchdowns. Aaron Jones had a good game with 76 yards. Devontae Adams 89. Everybody showed out. They did what they had to do,
Yeah,
and they played them well. They got the W.
yeah. This was a typical Fort or Green Bay Packer and Chicago Bears game. I mean, on paper, it might seem like it may look like a blowout, but these teams play each other hard every time they see each other. It doesn't matter when, where, they will always come out and do their best. Uh, Aaron Rodgers, he struggled against that good defense, but that defense stepped up today. And Justin Fields, he did his best. He's going to improve, but uh, Aaron Rodgers got the best of him. And, Aaron Rodgers let it be known today that he owns the Chicago Bears. Ran it in for a touchdown, screaming at the fans. And, I like it. I like the animation out of him. I
Hmm.
like the fact that he's doing that because, you know, it may not seem like it, but uh, I feel like as far as Chicago goes, they don't really look at him like how the rest of the world looks at Aaron Rodgers. So he let him know who he was today, and he said, "I own you guys." So good
Yeah,
for him.
no, I think they do know. I think they do know. I know a couple
I don't
I know
know,
a couple
maybe.
Bears fans. They know. He said, yeah. He said that a fan in the stands was flipping him off, two birds, and he said he blacked
Okay,
out. Which I don't believe that, but he said
yeah.
it was a lady in the stands flipping the birds at
Oh,
him, and he said, "I still own you." So.
I mean, it's true.
All right, and we have a
So,
special guest. Zach Kerr is in the house. Welcome
yeah, yeah.
back.
Yes.
I told everybody you weren't
Have to.
showing up, and look, here you are.
Wow. I just had to
We would
clean
have,
my house. You know what I mean?
well,
That's what I
if we
had to
would
do.
have, if we would have known you were coming, we would have saved the Chargers game for you. But maybe it's a good thing that you weren't here for it. So we'll move on past that. I do want to comment on
It's fine.
something you said, Fossey. You said that Justin Fields will figure it out. I don't know if he'll figure it out. I'm having a little bit of doubt based on that game. The only reason why is because I watched him multiple times, and there was one specific play where Allen Robinson was running down the field wide open. Literally nobody within 10 yards of him 40 yards down the field, and he didn't even look for him. Justin Fields just went and started running, and he had him wide open to where he's waving his hands and everything. Like, it was crazy. And when you see players start doing that, and it happened multiple times, but that was the main one, you start thinking, man, maybe this guy will not figure it out. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I haven't been too impressed with him so far. I hope he figures it out.
I hope
But
so.
that was a big red flag for me.
He'll figure it out if he gets a coaching change. You change your head coach and then the QB.
Yeah, but that's not coaching though. That's vision. That's all vision.
That's vision. It's like saying. I remember Fasi used to say like, "Oh, when Harbaugh came in, they were like telling Alex Smith take the sack, telling Kaepernick take a sack instead of go for broke." And it's just if you take a different like QB coach to tell you, "Hey, look for this before you run," even though you're good, that can change. I mean overall, that could change. It's easier said than done, but that's something that could help with coaching. I mean, that's why you have coaches.
I mean, I could have thrown that ball. He was wide open. Like, there was no, like, he could have he could have moonwalked to the end zone. He was wide open, and he didn't even look his way. He didn't even know he was there.
So here's the thing with Justin Fields is that he's always been that kind of player, though, in college. That's what he needs to transition to, is keeping his eyes down the field. If he can find a coach who will tell him to do that, I'm sure he'll figure it out.
But yeah, I just can't imagine. I just can't imagine coaches are not saying that. Even Matt Nagy, like, every coach is going to tell him, get your eyes down.
Notice,
he'll probably
Justin
get drilled.
Fields is out of all of these quarterbacks, he's doing the most running. If the play breaks down, he's always just taking off. I mean, all these other quarterbacks, they're more keen on staying in the pocket, keeping their eyes down the field. I think he's being coached to, go with his instinct. If he sees a lane, take it. Hopefully that will change in the future. But I don't think Matt Nagy's going to be there much longer anyway. So, yeah, hopefully they get somebody who's going to teach him that.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to one of my favorite teams right now. I'm very hyped on them. This wasn't a big win for them, but
who is that?
Bengals, Cincinnati Bengals, Detroit Lions. Okay. I'm loving the Bengals. I was a big Joe Burrow fan last year. I drafted him in fantasy. He had all the injuries. This year, everything coming out of preseason was, man, this guy's shot, he's scared, he's spooked, and Jamar Chase is terrible. That's what we heard for 3 months. Now, the regular season starts, he's balling out. Jamar Chase is like the best rookie receiver we've seen since Randy Moss, and these guys just keep piling on the wins. Love Joe Mixon. They won 34-11. It was never a game. They took Burrow out mid-fourth quarter.
Is that a thing? The Randy Moss reference?
Yeah, because it is because he's like the first receiver to have 300-yard games to start his career since Randy Moss or something like that. He's in that echelon right now for his rookie season, because Randy Moss had like a historic rookie season. Jamar Chase is right there.
Nice. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and you could put it like that, then I can say that.
He had 97 yards today, so didn't hit the 100, but this guy is money. And they're even saying on the telecast maybe one of the best downfield receivers in the league right now. I mean, he just chunk plays galore. That's all he does.
I heard that.
He's clutch for them.
He's great. He had one big drop early in the game, but other than that, the guy's money. And Joe Mixon's a great running back if the offensive line plays well. So they'll be fine. And defense is playing much better. Zach, what about you? What do you think about Cincinnati, or what do you think about the only 0-6 team, Detroit?
I thought Detroit would be better. I mean, I thought I gave them, within the past 3 weeks, they would have gotten at least 1 or 2 wins. I think I had them kind of taking the upset on Cincy this weekend. I think Detroit's due for a win, but dude, they might just just repeat what the Browns did, 0-16, and then try to get one next year. So I don't have faith in Detroit anymore. But Cincinnati, again, I think we talked about it before. Cincinnati is the real deal. They're like that sleeper team that will make a playoff push or bump a team out just because they're playing so good.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, man, the Bengals came out and they played lights out. This was kind of like their statement game. 6 weeks in, this is where your team starts to take its form. They took this opportunity to beat up the Detroit Lions, and they did a good job of it. So good job to that young nucleus they have. They got all the pieces that they need on offense to be good for a while. They got Joe Burrow, running back Joe Mixon, and then they got Jamar Chase with other weapons there, T Higgins and Boyd and all that. So they look good there, and that defense shut down the Lions. And man, you feel for the Lions, man. Bengals did
Yeah.
great, but the Lions, man, this is where the season starts to beat you up physically, mentally. I mean, these guys have lost heartbreakers, and now they're trying to just muster up everything they can do to get a win. And they got to see a
Yeah.
team like the Bengals, and the Bengals, just crushed them. So you don't know when they're going to
Tore
get a
him up.
win, the Lions, but man, hopefully they get one soon, or they might just go 0-16, like Zach said.
I don't know if
Yeah.
you guys saw Dan Campbell's interview after the game talking about Jared
What do you do?
Goff, saying
I
that
didn't.
he needs to show up more. He needs to play more. So
Oh,
Jared Goff is already getting heat from Detroit. Terrible game,
Yeah.
202 yards on 42 attempts and a pick, no touchdowns. I mean,
Yeah.
nobody showed up. DeAndre Swift, 24 yards on 13 carries and a touchdown. They got some
Yeah, that's not
talented
gonna
players
do a
on
thing.
this team, and they just didn't show up. And they've been playing hard this season. They played the Ravens hard. They played a couple other teams hard, but they just haven't gotten the win. I don't see them going
Yeah.
0-17 because I think they will pull out a win. I mean,
They get
Jacksonville
one.
won. So
Yeah.
I think this Detroit team has some talent, and they should be able to get a win or two. But yeah,
They
I don't
just played a
know.
better team.
Yeah,
I mean, they
Cincinnati
could
is a
have they
good
could have beat
team.
Baltimore. They could have beat
Yeah,
Baltimore if they didn't have Justin
Hey,
Tucker.
they
Like
almost beat the Niners
that's the
week
only thing.
one.
yeah.
We
So
were
this
up
team
like
will.
3 touchdowns, and they
I
came
have a
back on us.
Yeah.
I have a feeling this team will be a heartbreaker team where they maybe end some teams' playoff runs towards the end of the year
Yeah.
and they get a couple
Like
wins
that.
and it's those shocking wins. I think they'll have a couple of those, but they're not going to
I
be a
hope
real
it's the
contender.
Packers.
Yeah, it's very possible. It's very possible.
It could be. You never
I
know.
think one last thing about the Cincinnati Bengals team. Next week they play the Baltimore Ravens, and that's going to be the test to see if
Yeah.
Cincinnati is a real team or just a wild card team.
Pretender.
I
What
mean,
about your
even
division?
if they lose to the Ravens, a lot of teams are losing to the Ravens. I talked about the Chargers; they'll be fine. But you want to see
Yeah.
them at least compete. If they can at least
Yeah,
keep it
exactly.
close, if they lose by a touchdown or a field goal, and you feel like they're in the game, then you'll feel a lot better about Cincinnati. And if they win, then you feel really good about Cincinnati. But if they get just destroyed, then you start second guessing a little bit because they haven't really beaten too many good teams. So
And they haven't really played
it's a
their
wait and
division
see.
yet. So once you play your
Well, they
division,
beat
that's a whole
they
different
beat
ballgame.
Pittsburgh.
Early, yeah. And
Yeah,
we're gonna have one. I mean, it's Pittsburgh. We talked about how
Pittsburgh's
but
not
playing Baltimore and Cleveland is like the other two things. Playing those two
yeah,
teams are really gonna determine. And if
yeah.
anything,
Especially
like they lose
Baltimore.
this one close, they'll probably win the second one. Essentially, that's how I see it. I think they'll flip whatever one happens next week. So
Absolutely. All right. Speaking of Cleveland Browns, this was a little bit of not a shocker to me, but I thought they would show up a little bit more than they did. Arizona
yeah,
keeps their undefeated season alive, 37-14 over the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. Kyler Murray, 229, 4 touchdowns, good game. James Conner had a good game, 16
yeah,
carries, 71 yards. AJ Green has found the fountain of youth, 79
yeah, good
yards and a
thing. Yeah,
touchdown.
He's finally back.
Yeah,
he's good.
so
Yeah,
he's healthy.
finally.
Everything, everything they were saying. Oh, I was pressing everything they were saying about him being hurt seems like it was legit, and now we're seeing that. But
It's fresh start.
Cleveland, what happened? I know Nick Chubb was out, but Fossey, what did you think about Cleveland and in this game? Were you kind of surprised how they really didn't show up at all?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, me and like I'm pretty sure everybody in Cleveland thought that they would win this game. I thought the Cleveland or the Browns would win this game, especially with how they were coming off of that game against the Chargers. They did lose that game, but they showed a lot of promise and they put up a lot of points. I thought they were going to be able to do that, but they weren't able to stop that defensive line that the Arizona Cardinals have. J.J. Watt was being a monster today. He looked like himself from like back in the day. But you expected more out of out of Kareem Hunt, taking that starting running back role from
Yeah.
Nick Chubb, but he didn't look like he was in a groove at all, and then I think he got hurt later on into the game. But Kyler Murray, man, that guy is a magician. This this Cardinal team right now looks like the real deal. 6-0 now. Defense is playing great. Special teams is great, playing great. Kyler Murray, MVP candidate, has that offense looking great. They're gonna run deep into this playoff, man. And I don't know who's gonna stop them as far as the NFC West goes. But I do
Yeah,
want to
no,
say
no worries.
something about the 49ers. We held them to only 17 points when we played them last week. So, yeah, our
Those
defense
are
is good. But
those are
yeah,
It's still an
divisional
L, bro.
matchups.
the,
Divisional
the, the
Yeah.
matchups
Cardinals
are always
the
tough.
Cardinals look great, man. They look great. But yeah, the Browns, man. That should be an eye opener for Charger fans and for the players.
Yeah. I mean, the Browns didn't look good. I mean, Arizona's just balanced overall in all levels of the game. As for the Browns, like, yeah, Hunt does not agree because you don't have Chubb. Chubb kind of starts that pace, kind of gets you going this way, and then Hunt comes in and just really bruises you. And I mean, Hunt was killing it in Kansas City when he was there, but now I think he's kind of taken that role as the number two, and I don't think
Yeah,
he was ready for that number one. And he's battling through injury, and same as Baker, busting up his
Hmm.
shoulder, dislocating that. He was dealing with that with from like what week two or whatever when he tried to save that interception. So Browns were coming in beat up, so I didn't expect them to win, but to lose by almost by double their points. Yeah, I think Browns will be okay, but Cardinals, they're a team you can't mess with. Those TJ or JJ Watt's killing it. Buda Baker, that whole defense is clicking. So that's a well balanced team overall.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest surprise of the season is not Arizona Cardinals, but the Arizona Cardinals defense. Nobody thought they would
Yeah,
be as good as they are, and they're balling out. I think them and the Rams, those teams are going to be. I know they beat the Rams down, but it's going to go down to the wire between those two in that division. And Cleveland's got to get their act together. They're 3-3 right now. Your Bengals are playing much
mm,
better. The Ravens are killing it.
yeah,
Pittsburgh looks a little bit better right now than they did a couple weeks ago with their big wins.
shaky win
So
today.
yeah, so overall they got to get together, but I do want to mention that their receivers showed up for the Browns. Donovan Peoples-Jones had over 100 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Odell Beckham finally showed up a little bit, and
Yeah,
they seemed to have like an effort to get him in the game plan, which after all the chatter, he
that's
was
good.
part of it. But
That's
yeah,
he didn't like go off by any means, but it was good to see him in there start to get in the system. So hopefully this is signs of good things to come. And once they get their guy Nick Chubb back, they'll be back to killing it.
yeah. They should be fine. I mean, defensively, that has to show up too. Like you're supposed to have this good defense, right, from the front line to the back end,
Yeah,
and just getting torched and just not looking good. So I mean, they got to clean that up too, looking out for those things. But
I
yeah,
know they do have
they'll get together
a
though.
lot of. They have a lot of injuries on that back end. Those
Mm-hmm.
corners, they're going 3, 4. They're
They're
kind of like
losing
Tampa
them.
Bay. They're kind of like Tampa
They're
Bay.
losing
They
them.
they're throwing guys off the street out there. So that is definitely tough to compete with
Yeah,
a team like Arizona. But they should still be playing better than what they are. So hopefully they can get it together and figure that out. I think the last game I wanted to go over, unless you guys have any other objections, would be Cowboys Patriots. This was one of the best games of the week. It was kind of a surprising game to me, but Dallas takes care of business in overtime, 35-29 over the New England Patriots. Fasi, what did you think about this game?
I love this game. I love this game because I got Dak and CD Lamb on one of my fantasy teams, so they killed it for me.
like it
But
ruined me.
I
There you
liked it
go.
not only because the Cowboys looked like the Cowboys, but man, Bill Belichick, Mike McDaniel's, and Mac Jones, man, the way that they played that game against a good team like Dallas, and the guts that they had to do the things that they did with a rookie quarterback, man, it shows that they have promise in New England, Gillette Stadium, man. I bet you every one of those fans in that uh, stadium thought that they could win that game, especially when Kendrick Bourne took off for that 75-yard touchdown. But yeah,
Hmm.
that was a great game, man. Back and forth. The rookie was playing great. Uh, the defense, especially for the Cowboys, we talked about him before. Diggs, he's putting up number. Is he a rookie?
No, he's a
No,
second year player.
His second
Second
year?
year.
this
Okay,
is
well
second.
he's putting up one of the best cornerback, or at least one of the best starts to a cornerback season ever. I mean, he has
Like a pick every game, pretty much.
a pick every game. I think he has one more pick than the games that he's played. I think he's at 7. He's only played 6 games. So man,
Yeah.
he's putting up numbers. Dan
Preach.
Campbell, hats off to that guy, man. He completely turned that defense
Dan
around.
Quinn.
Uh, or yeah, Dan Quinn, not Dan Campbell.
Dan
Sorry,
Campbell.
Yeah.
but but yeah, that
Wrong
defense
team.
looks great. Offense, man, they got all the weapons. Cowboys look great, and if you're a Patriots fan, you have a good future to look forward to with Mac Jones. So yeah, it was a great game.
Yeah, you can't count out like the New England at all. Belichick knows how to coach it up, and I think with his coaching staff, you can't really discredit them. They'll put a fight. But as you're saying, like Mac Jones looks good. I mean, he's one of those rookies
He
who's playing
does.
consistent, playing in that pocket well, playing to the scheme well. Threw Hunter Henry a touchdown to help me in fantasy. But Dallas is one of those teams too that are like they're clicking well, kind of getting overall balance on each level of the field. Like that two running back tandem they're seeing is working defensively with Dan Quinn putting in that Seattle kind of scheme. This one scheme, a lot of motions kind of following. And then yeah, that allows Diggs to have a freaking DO defensive player of the year kind of like nominee early with those 7 picks or so. So Dallas is a team to look out for who probably can take on the Cardinals if they ever see each other. That'll be a game to look out for.
Yeah, that NFC is loaded with teams right now. Dallas is good, Tampa's good, Cardinals, Rams, Packers will always be in it. Like there's some
Yeah.
heavy hitter teams. I would be pretty surprised if the Super Bowl winner is not an NFC team unless it's the Bills. That's the only team I kind of put in that conversation in that same category, but I think there's like 5 teams in the NFC that are just like top notch teams and
No, I
not
can
really
take it,
as
yeah.
many on the AFC.
Nah,
But
yeah, Chiefs don't look like they can do it.
yeah, Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs can always do it because they got Patrick Mahomes, so they're in there. I actually think the Chargers have a shot just because of Herbert.
Mm-hmm.
And Baltimore, if they could figure it out in the playoffs, there's a shot. But they haven't proven that, and they've had better regular seasons than they're doing right now. So I just kind of think the Bills are that one team in the AFC that can pull it off. But this Cowboys team, the offense is so loaded. You got 2 running backs that could start at almost any team. CeeDee Lamb's a beast. Dalton Schultz is a beast. Amari Cooper is a beast. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott's starting to catch passes out of the backfield more like he used to back in the day. They're loaded. They're a top team. I think Patriots, I mean, Mac Jones looked good. He still only threw for 229, 2 touchdowns and a pick, but he did have a lot of good plays. But he had a lot of bad plays too. I mean, one of those was a 75-yard touchdown. If you take that out, he had 150 yards.
He had a
really.
pick 6, yeah.
Yeah, so he
That's
had
it.
some
And then
bad
a pick
plays
6.
as well. Damian
Yeah,
Harris looks
but-
like the real deal, but I think Mac Jones looks like a guy that's going to get the job done. They just need to start building more weapons around him. I mean, when you saw Tom Brady there last
sure.
time they played, he had nobody left, and that's on Belichick. He needs to start drafting players that are actually worth something because they have been missing everywhere. And even in free agency, they put all that money into the 2 tight ends, and Hunter Henry looks okay, and Jonnu Smith is
like
barely
always
getting on
been.
the field. I mean, that's it. I mean, you put all that money into 2 tight ends, and none of them are top 10 now. They're much better on the teams they were before they came to New England. So they need some help on that front office in terms of scouting players because I don't know. New England's been middle of the pack, if not worse, the last 8 years.
Yeah.
Bill's the GM.
I do want to
So-
say that Mac
Exactly.
Jones is very accurate when he does make a decision. He just follows through with it. I mean, I think going into half he was like 7 for 7 for like $150 or something like that. So those are numbers that are pretty dang good.
I think he's showing him and Trevor Lawrence are obviously showing the most promise out of the rookies right now, at least. Sorry,
Yeah.
Trey area, but these are the 2 top ones right now. But he needs help. I think they need to get. I mean, he has nobody that's explosive.
Yeah, you
I mean, if
gotta.
Jacoby Myers is like your number one, it's like, come on, you need some
You
help.
got a
So
lot
once
of
he gets that help,
They,
he'll be
they
a
need
lot
like
better
a
off.
Jalen Waddle or CD Lamb or something like that.
Well, he picked
They
up a
need
lot of like number 3 receivers for budget. That's really what it came down to, and that's what New England's always done:
They
pick players
they
for
get
cheap
they get
because it's
Kendrick
New England and Brady.
Warner.
Now it's not New England and
it's
Brady.
not
It's
working.
friggin' Brady
Yeah,
and Belichick, and you can't recruit players like you did before.
It's
You
not
see, it's working
working.
in Tampa because it's Brady.
Well, that's
So
because nobody wants to play for Belichick because they hear
yeah,
about it. I mean, it's
you
not a
rather
fun
play with
experience.
Brady.
and
Well, that's why I
it's
was
like
saying like
boot camp.
Tampa's different because like I
Yeah,
want to play with Brady rather than the coach. I'd rather play with the quarterback. So
Yeah,
yeah.
he needs to start drafting in the first round rather than trying to spend cheap because you don't have that image anymore. Like you really need to go out and sell yourself.
And I think players even back when they were good didn't want to play for Belichick that much, but they
Nah,
sucked it up because of Brady and the winning. So if you're not winning
yeah,
and you don't have that quarterback and the coach is still trashing people, then you're like, well, why would I go there if I could go to a different team that, you know, is a little more fun to play for? So I think there's going to have to either be some better personnel decisions for New England, or they're going to have
hmm
to change their philosophy just a little bit just to accommodate for that, because it's they have some talent on that team, but it's not working. I don't think it's working, and Mac Jones needs some help if he is going to turn into a good quarterback.
yeah. See what
yeah.
happens. Nice.
All right. Are there any other games you guys or players want to talk about, or do you want to go through the Monday Night Football Bills Titans tomorrow night?
Let me
What do you
say
guys?
one thing since you
Yeah. All right.
already
Go
talked
ahead.
about the Charger thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would take a loss like that than a loss by 2 points any freaking day of the week. I'd rather take a loss where we got our butt handed than a game we're close in and losing it by something like minimal. So, but it's a humbling loss. You take the L,
I don't
come back
know.
in 2 weeks. I mean, yeah,
I
we
root.
got beat by. I thought we would have took it, and that's just not biased, just based on how the team was playing. But as a overall, how we lose to close games, that was a better. I'll take that loss any day.
See,
I
I'm
wouldn't
the
take a loss,
opposite.
but I know you
I'm
don't
the.
want to take a loss, but you rather take a
I don't know.
close loss. That's a heartbreaking as a Charger fan from year in
Yeah, it's
year
hard.
out.
It's
Taking those,
heartbreaking, but at least your team's trying and showed up and
yeah,
showed some guts in the
then
game, as
execute.
opposed to sitting on the bench down 30, looking like you have no idea what area code
Yeah.
you're in. I would
yeah.
much rather
Looking
have a
looking at
close
the other
loss.
sideline, watching their kicker
Mhm.
Justin Tucker taking pictures of the whole team,
Yeah,
and there's
I
like
mean,
2 minutes left in the game.
yeah, looking
Yeah,
like you
just
don't
saying.
belong on the field. I don't know.
Uh,
I've been a Bucks fan my entire life. We've lost a lot of games, and games like this were the worst. If you lost a close one, it sucked, but at least you're like, well, at least we competed and we can play with that team. But when you get beat like this, it's like, man, do we even deserve to play that team? What if we play them again? Do we have a shot?
it's the
And
same
you
thing
might,
last year when we
but
got smoked by New England, like 30-0 or 40 to
yeah,
0 against that
those are
Cam
terrible
Newton
losthis.
fucking things. But
Yeah,
So,
the
is what
so
Bucks
I'm
here's
lost
the
saying.
thing.
big to the
That's just
Rams
me.
last year
I
too.
I was telling Boris, I was like, so this is the kind of losses that you respond to, or kind of like bring you back down to reality for the Chargers.
Yeah,
You're hot right
it's a
now,
humbling
you know.
loss.
How do you respond now that you got your butt handed to you, and you know
Exactly. That's
you're
what
a
I'm saying.
great
You take
team.
that
You
out.
could make a run to the
hmm
playoffs. I mean, Justin Herbert looks
First in
like
the
an
division
MVP.
still.
So how do you respond is the big question going into next week for them.
Yeah.
That
Well, we
is
got the
that is
bye.
very true.
And so, yeah, it's about how we respond. That's one of the things, like saying it's humbling. You take a loss like that, an embarrassing loss, and you regroup, watch film, talk it out, stick to the plan. We have a bye next week. In 2 weeks, you take on whoever it may be, and then go from there.
That's the
So,
biggest thing. That next game, the next game that they play, that'll be the biggest one, because like the Bucks took really three huge losses last season before their huge
mm,
run, and after that loss to the Rams, they went on just a roll, and they got
yeah,
smacked by the Rams. So if they respond like that, then they're going to
I
be
think we'll be
fine.
okay.
But they're playing the Patriots.
Yeah.
They're playing the Patriots in
Uh,
LA on Halloween,
so,
1 o'clock. If you can smack the Patriots, then you start rolling. You
yeah,
have the
yeah.
Eagles, and then you have the Vikings are a tough out. But if you beat the Patriots and the Eagles, Vikings, you
Then
Yeah,
we're
can
you'll
looking
handle
good.
that. And then you
you'll
start
roll
Yeah.
over the
you
next
start
3 games if you respond good to the
Vikings
Patriots.
will
You'll
be
roll
tough,
over
though.
those next
Vikings
three
could be
games.
tough
Vikings are
because of the
tough.
run. Just
Yeah,
the running game is
Vikings
the
are
problem.
tough.
It's the same
Hey,
thing with the Browns.
Cousins can throw the ball.
Yeah, too.
I'm taking the Chargers all day over the Vikings. So
I agree.
I mean,
I think they're a better
yeah.
team too, but I think the Vikings are a tough. That's not an easy
It's gonna be
game.
tougher. Yeah, it's not gonna give me. It's
No.
gonna be. It's gonna be like that Browns game all over. It's gonna be close to the wire.
Yeah.
And again, running is what it is.
I think it's safe to say the next, or just the Chargers are going to be fun to watch for the rest of the year.
Yeah, we going next year, boys. The SoFi.
There we go.
Yeah.
When you have a young, fun quarterback, that's it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we can get to tomorrow's game though. So yeah, let's pick them.
Yeah, let's talk about it. How you guys feeling about this game? Bills, Titans. Who's taking the W? What's the over/under? Let's look at that.
Yeah, while you're looking at that, I'm gonna just say that Derrick Henry is gonna come out and score 3 touchdowns on the Bills. The Bills are gonna lose, but I need him to score like 3 touchdowns, which he is very capable of doing.
Just 3 touchdowns.
Absolutely.
You don't care about yardage. That's not gonna help you.
Yeah, you know what? He's probably gonna score more than 1.
All right, but Buffalo's defense has been playing well. So this game is in Tennessee, and Buffalo is 5.5-point favorites.
Ooh.
And I remind you, last year Tennessee won 42-16.
Yeah, no, Tennessee took care of business against them. So
okay.
it's a tough game. Julio Jones is coming back,
He's
so
back.
There's going to be a couple more pieces of firepower. I think Bills get it done above that. I think they'll win by 10. And I think this is going to be easy. I think the Bills' defense is so much better than they used to be, and they're just going to stack the box on Derrick Henry, which everybody does, but I think they'll be more successful than a lot of other teams.
Yeah, I agree with Boris on that one. I think the Bills have it by 10. They're going to do what they do. They're going to stop Derrick Henry. They can expose them. Like, I mean, if you can stop Mahomes, you can stop Derrick Henry, really.
I'm shaking my head at you guys, man.
Go ahead.
You guys are disrespecting my guy Ryan Tannehill, man. Come back player
I'm not.
Man, come
He's
on,
been
guys.
struggling. He's been struggling this year. I like them the last few years.
But he has weapons. If they stack the box, I trust him to throw the ball to A.J. Brown or even better, Julio Jones. So yeah, I think the Titans will cover. I'll take the under on that.
Do you think they'll cover or you think they'll win?
I think they'll win. I'll go with that.
Okay, so
go with the win.
If they lose, you can take a shot.
I'll go with the win. All right. Yeah. Down.
They'll at least cover, but he's going for the win. He's going for the win. Fossey's got the Titans. Me and Zach got the Bills to win and cover. We'll see what happens, and we will catch you guys next week after some of the Week 7 games. Thank you guys for listening, and we are out. Peace.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Freestyle. Go ahead, Foss.
I'm good. I'll write one of these days.